at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
It's empowering. I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. What's up, dogs? Welcome back to another episode of the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. This week, I'm joined by Jeremy Moore. He's the founder and head coach of More Than Fitness, a nonprofit based in Delaware. More Than Fitness's mission is to help people build strong bodies, resilient minds, and unbreakable spirits.
I know about football. I watch football. Yeah.
Would you consider yourself an Eagles fan?
Oh yeah, we all are. Everybody.
I'm curious about that because I know like South Jersey is birds, right? But like, what about Delaware?
Yeah, from like Dover up is definitely Eagles, and then maybe from Dover down is going to be the Ravens. But there's a mix all around. But we are Philadelphia fans. It's 20 minutes away from us.
Yeah. Isn't what's it called? Like is it the Sixers or the Eagles that have the training facility up there by like the river?
The Sixers. Yeah.
Sixers. Yeah. Dope. What do you think about the Birds right now, bro? Like, is Jalen getting it done? Is Sirianni getting it done? Like, do you think they should both keep their jobs?
Man, so I was a massive Eagles fan all throughout high school and then in college. And then I joined the Army and I had stuff I had to do on my Sundays. And after I got out, I was like, man, I kind of like doing all this stuff on Sundays. So I will sit down and watch a game and appreciate a good game of football, but I couldn't tell you what is going on with the Eagles right now.
Oh, bless your soul, bro. It's much more peaceful to be living like that. Like it's back to stressful times. If you were ever an Eagles fan through the stressful times, it's back. That's what's happening right now. It's not the good days.
That's had my Monday ruined because of a Sunday.
Oh my God, literally so many of them. Like there's the highs of like the double doink era, but then there's like the next week where we lost, and it just carpet pulled out from under you. One of those kind of moments. Feel that. Did you join out of high school or how old were you? I know around.
Yeah, I was 21 when I joined. When I graduated, I hadn't really worked that hard in high school as far as academically. I just did enough to get by. So I was really unprepared for college, but in that era, I graduated in 2006. Like the push was that everybody should go to college. If you want to be successful, you need to go to college. Mm-hmm. Everybody that I knew was either going to college or it looked like they were going to go on a very unsuccessful life trajectory. So I just went to college and I didn't want to be there and I wasn't academically prepared. So I bounced around to 3 different colleges in 3 years, and then eventually decided like maybe I shouldn't go to college right now. So I went out west for a year, and then after that I joined the Army.
What was your headspace like? Like, were you before you went to college, like out of high school, had you ever had that thought in your mind before that maybe you want to enlist, or what was the headspace that led to that?
Yeah, I had always had an affinity for the military. This area in North Wilmington is not a very veteran dense population, so it's not something that I would see on a regular. It wasn't something that was like right in front of my face as a possibility, and my parents are very supportive with whatever I do, but like my dad was a conscious objector to Vietnam. My mom is sort of a hippie. So it just wasn't something that I felt like I could have open discussions about. It was something that I, was kind of trying to protect them from. So
Right. Kind of in the back of your mind, you had it like said it out loud yet. Before you go on, are they from like that area that you're talking about, like in Delaware? Like, did you guys, is this like local to them?
So my mom grew up here. She lived here and went to Ursuline and Christ Our King. And my dad moved here when he was either a junior or senior in high school. So he graduated. So they both have been here for a long time.
Yeah. So then you talked about already, right? Like once you got in, you're driven. You're like, I want to work on these things. Were you going in with that mindset? Were you working out beforehand? Like, were you taking care of yourself? Like, tell me about that mental state as you went in.
Yeah, I had the blessing of not being incredibly athletically inclined. Like I never had kind of the raw skills. So the only way I was ever making it onto any teams or getting any time was if I worked really hard. And I figured that out at a really young age. So I had that idea in my head that I can work hard and make it. And so as soon as I signed my contract, I actually was living out west, working, doing a program called AmeriCorps and working with the Forest Service. And I came back home and said, hey, everybody, I joined the Army. I'm leaving in 3 months. I didn't, really consult with anyone. I just
Quick turnover there.
And when I got home, I prepared. And then when I got the basic training, I kind of looked around and was like, were you guys doing anything to prepare? Like, why are you struggling to run 2 miles? I've been doing nothing but training for probably the last 10 years. And kind of immediately was like, okay, well, what's next? What's the next challenge? What's the next level of thing that I can do to get up to another level, like a higher echelon?
Right.
And I just kept doing that every opportunity I got. I signed up to go to every school that I was allowed to go to and put packets to go to this and go to that and go to this and go to that. And I ended up in like a mid-level cool unit. It's called the 82nd Airborne Division. Some people have heard of it.
That's dope.
It's not the highest, it's no special forces or ranger regiment, but it's something that separated us from, like, we would call it the regular army or the big army.
Right. So tell me, like, how do you think you went in and how do you think you came out of active duty? Right.
Yeah. It was a massive transition for me. So after about 2.5 years of preparing to go to Afghanistan, I went to Afghanistan and I got injured. I dropped 60 feet and broke a bunch of bones in my legs, had a spinal cord injury, cracked a bunch of vertebrae.
Yeah.
Broke ribs, ripped my shoulder out, had a brain injury. So I obviously came out a lot different than I went in. I walked with a cane for 7 years after that injury. It took me forever to recover. And so I initially came out just really broken, psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah.
Career wise, I was a wreck. I was back living in the bedroom that I grew up in.
So what year was that you came home, that you first come home from Afghanistan? You're injured.
I got hurt in 2012 and I got out of the Army in 2014. So I stayed in the Army because I was too fucked up to even get out.
Right. Like they have to keep you there on their medical so they can like take care of you, send you home like mobile. So that was like a 2-year process of you even trying to like rehabilitate to be able to go back home. Right. So what's it like once you get back home? What's the next step?
Oh, it's awful. Like my life is terrible. Coming back from coming back from being at the top of my game was hard enough as is. Like I was an impressive specimen in my own evaluation. I was doing stuff that I never thought was even possible, that I was ever able to do, and just constantly going from one difficult thing to the next really difficult thing to the next really difficult thing, to not even being able to take care of myself. So it was brutal.
Do you remember what you were thinking, like on the plane ride home? Like, were you starting to make a plan, or was it just like, damn, I just got to get back home?
I made a plan of, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, but I had no concept of how painful it was going to be to come home. Because when I was still in, it was different. I was hurt, but the people that were taking care of me were other people in the military. They understood. I definitely came back with some psychological wounds from deployment that I didn't have to address in the environment of active duty.
Yeah.
Once I got home, it was as if the whole world was crumbling around me. Nobody
face it all now.
Yeah, nobody cared. Well, I had built a reputation for myself before I got hurt that I garnered a certain amount of respect, even though I moved really slow and I walked with a cane and I needed help. And when I came back, I wasn't wearing my uniform anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The badges and the ribbons and whatever. And so people would just blow by me in the store and bump into me, and I couldn't do anything about that,
Yeah. Damn.
It was brutal.
Deep.
I mean, it was definitely a really scary and dark time.
So how you start to put yourself back together?
Yeah. Well, this program is how it started. I had maintained. I had control over my ability to still exercise through my injury. And so I had kept doing that. I swam a lot while I was in the Army. And then I started lifting weights when I was able to get out. And when I came back home, I had a really solid friend from childhood that was like, we're going to work out. We're going to go to the gym, because I could do that. And consistently we worked out for about another year. And so I was bench pressing and doing everything that I could that I wasn't limited by. And I have still currently a really wonderful relationship with my high school football coach. And I went to go and visit him one day. I actually ran up to the school on my crutches. I got really expensive carbon fiber forearm crutches and had figured out a way to run on them. And I was sitting there talking with him, and he could tell that I had problems that I wasn't dealing with. A lot of the deployment darkness was I was not processing through it. And so he said to another coach, we need to get him back in the fold. We need to get him back around. And so he put me in the weight room with a couple of kids. And nothing happened immediately. It was a slow burn over the next probably 3 years. But I found that I had a purpose again. I had that respect that I had had when I was in the military. I was doing something that mattered. I could talk to these students in a way that no other adult in their life could, because I was still very raw from my own psychological challenges. And I would talk to them about that stuff pretty openly. It felt like a very safe environment to be able for me to process through it on my own. I mean, that was my first therapy, was telling stories to the students in a way that made those stories have meaning.
Yeah.
And then when I'm crutching into the weight room and benching 335, the kids are like, what what is going on?
Yeah.
It was just the shock value. It immediately put them in a position where they were more willing to hear what I had to say. And I very quickly recognized that it was really good for me, that I could talk about a lot bigger things than lifting weights in the gym, and that how much they looked up to me forced me to have to take a look at some of my own problems, because I knew that they were going to try and be like me. And so I didn't want to show them these fucked up behaviors that I had and these fucked up coping skills. And so it was the constant, it has been the constant kick in the ass to continue to address my own shit so that I'm presenting to them positive habits that they can choose which ones they want to take and use them to find success in their own life.
That's awesome, man. Like, so you start your unofficial therapy with the kids, right? Do you find yourself going to therapy to like talk it through?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'm a huge proponent of therapy. I've been in therapy for just under 10 years now, not on and off, changing from therapist to therapist. And the more that I understood, the more that I grasped, the more that I found the pieces in therapy that were really effective in my everyday life, I brought those practices into the weight room with me. So at the beginning, it was just weightlifting, and then it was weightlifting and meditation, because I found a lot of stability in that. And then it was weightlifting and meditation and me talking about some of the coping, not calling them coping skills, but talking about my own coping skills. And then, and it just, everything just kept getting layered on to the point where now we are a social and emotional wellness curriculum that's disguised as a strength and conditioning program. It is the weight training and how much they can lift and in what shape they are is all secondary to them learning about themselves so that they can get success again in whatever way they define success. The soft skills that people need to transition from adolescence into adulthood.
Right, to mature. I love it. So you're looking around, it's becoming more than fitness, right? Like, so you use that as the brand name. When do you form the organization? What are your first steps? What was your mission for creating it?
So I started informally at Mount Pleasant High School, which is the high school that I graduated from. And in about 2 years, I went from having 3 kids in the weight room to having 40 kids in the weight room. You're splitting them up day to day. And the school I was doing it underneath of the school, like as a part of Brandywine School District. I was a Brandywine School District employee. And once we got to that kind of breaking point where I was like, I need a bigger space, I need more equipment, I need this, I need that. The school district and I were like, this isn't the best way for us to continue this relationship. You should have your own thing. We'll have our own thing, and we can work together. And so in 2018, we incorporated and got our 501c3. A friend of mine, her name is Stacy Richardson. She went to Concord High School, which is another high school in our school district. She was really integral in helping me there's just a lot of organization that is required to start a nonprofit and then to set foundation for the nonprofit to be successful. And she just volunteered of her time to walk me through for
all the steps.
To get us to a place where we could be successful.
That's awesome. So what was the mission? You are at the high school first, and then you're branching out to take on a bigger role in it. What do you want the organization to do for the local community?
Our mission statement was to equip people with the tools to build strong bodies, resilient minds, and unbreakable spirits. That's our tagline. But initially, the first thought was, I just want to give the students an opportunity to get out of the school, to come to an environment where they know exactly what they're going to get. It might not always, it's definitely not always a nice environment. I'm not always showing caring and compassion.
You're not like a substitute teacher.
But they know exactly what they're going to get. And the rules are the same every single time. And they feel safe because the environment is consistent. And they feel safe because I tell them a couple of stories about being in the military, and they think, well, if something goes down, like, Coach Moore's going to take care of it.
I'm good. I'm cool. I'm good with this dude. That's hilarious, bro. That's lit. So now let's transition into the comp, right? How does Belafonte Brawl play into all this? Where does that start at? You said you're on year 3 of it?
Yeah.
So tell us the story of that. Where did that come from?
Yeah. So if you run a nonprofit, you got to raise money, and grants is where the big money is, but you need to have fundraisers to have funds that are more flexible, where you can decide where you want those things to go. And this is, I don't know if you're familiar with the dynamics of Delaware, but everybody knows everybody, and none of us really like to leave. We just stay here. So another person that I went to high school with found out what I was doing and thought it was cool and wanted to get involved. His name's Nick Totaro. He works really closely with Justin he puts on the whole event. I barely do anything. I just show up and talk and this version
shake hands, kiss babies kind of thing.
As charming as I can possibly be, which is not that charming. I do it. Nick puts it all on, and it was his idea to have the comp, and he's really taken it and run with it. And the only parameter that I gave him was that I want our competition to be fun. If you are coming here and you're going to take it super seriously and really want to win and make other participants feel uncomfortable, this isn't a competition for you. Like, the environment, the culture in the weight room for my students is that we have healthy competition, and we're there to support one another. And I don't write scores down on the board when people are done. We don't even talk about it. Nobody cares. It's about starting the workout, working hard, and the workout being over. And that's it. And that was the culture that I wanted to bring to that competition. And Nick has done that. The first year we did it at Mount Pleasant High School, out on the track in the stadium, which was awesome. I mean, there was no fans because it was our first year. And I think we had like 15 teams or something. And then last year we started doing it here on the property. We have an 8-acre property here with a pool and a mid-sized gym. And he really utilized the space really well. And we got people involved that were gonna want to work hard and have fun. Last year we did a student showcase where my high school students did a workout that I kind of catered it to them so that they could have some success. No serious gymnastic moves, or the Olympic lifts were stuff that they could all handle, but it was really cool to show off what we are really there for, which is to raise money for this program that affects change.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd really like to see that. That's dope.
And then this last year, we opened up the adaptive division because one of our since the students program had success, since we got this property, More Than Fitness has expanded its services outside of just to high school students. And the first expansion that we had was providing adapted CrossFit,
awesome.
Adapted fitness. I don't run those classes. There was a woman named Kirsten McCartney, who's a doctor. Kirsten.
Yeah, I know Kirsten.
Yeah. So Kirsten started that program, and
that's really cool.
and brought it to us. And then she didn't want to have to do that admin stuff and didn't really have time. She's a doctor of physical therapy student and kind of had the infrastructure already to do it. And the property that we have here has a history of serving people with disabilities. So it was a really good pairing. And she's been running a really successful program. And so we were having a competition. We have adapted athletes. Boom. We want to have an adaptive division. So we did that this last year. And it was really remarkable to see the excitement from the non-adapted athletes to watch the adaptive athletes get after it and to hustle and to see the adapted athletes having an opportunity to compete in a way that we tried to make as seamless as possible into already existing competition. And Nick and Daryl, whose last name I can't remember right now, which is embarrassing, and Kirsten and Justin and all the judges all did a really good job of blending it in so that it didn't feel like we have this competition over here and then we have these adapted athletes over here doing this separate thing. It was just a competition that blended with our adapted athletes.
Damn, dude, that's really cool. Justin said the same thing that you said earlier too, that like everyone takes it serious and works hard, but it's a good time, and that's the more the priority, said that almost exactly word for word. But yeah, man, that's really sick about like having the adaptive part of the competition itself, because you hear a lot of feedback that at even bigger CrossFit events like the games and Wadapalooza, they feel like they're secondary. In Wadapalooza, the adaptive division goes at 7 a.m. before anyone's even awake, so that sucks.
Yeah. And I think all of that comes from like those events are meant to make money. Those events are meant to be successful. Those events have different missions.
Yeah.
It's not about the athletes doing stuff that they never thought that they could do. And that is what I want our competition to be. There's no cash prize. There's no, we get sponsors, but sometimes we post the sponsors on Instagram. Sometimes we forget. So maybe they'll get on this t-shirt. Maybe they won't. Like the competition is about getting a bunch of people who want to work hard, who want to take risks, who want to push themselves to do that together. And the reason that that's the spirit of the competition is because that's the spirit of our program, of all of our programs, of the adapted program, of the students program, we have an Armor Fit program, which is jiu-jitsu. We're working on developing a veterans program. We have a summer pool program, and they all have that same culture of let's get together and challenge each other and push each other to relentlessly pursue self-improvement.
That's really cool, bro. How many people do you have like on staff, like working on location?
Yeah. So I never really know. I used to, it was myself and Stacy for a long time. And then it was myself, Lindsay Polakowski, who's another Delaware native. I don't mess around. If you don't have a 302 phone number, you're probably not going to be allowed to work for me. But now we have, there are 3 full-time employees to include myself and like 6 part-time employees during the school year who provide some type of programming. So
service. Yeah.
Kirsten, who runs the adapted program, is a part-time employee. Doug, who runs the jiu-jitsu program, is a part-time employee. Kayla, who helped to set this up, is a part-time employee in our community program, as well as helping me out with all the organizational stuff that I'm incapable of doing.
I feel that.
There's about 6 of them. And then in the summer, which is when we open up our campus to a lot more people because of the central focus of the pool, we have about 35 seasonal employees. and the majority of them are my high school students.
Yeah, that rotate in and out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Shorter shifts. That's cool, man. So tell us about like some favorite memories from the brawl, over the past 3 years.
Yeah. So most of the time, my favorite memories are watching my students being able to get the feedback and the cheering in the crowd, because they only really ever get to see me get fired up about their successes, or each other fired up about their successes. And that is nothing in comparison to when you have people you don't even really know, cheering for you, and watching them be nervous and uncomfortable, and then stepping up and using the stuff that they have been practicing for years in our gym, using it in front of people, and then being able to see that switch click in their head. Like, I prepared for something hard, I stepped up and was courageous enough to do something hard, and I was successful. I think I can do that again.
Yeah, that's cool.
Watching that process through is one of them. The first year that we incorporated a swimming event, that was really awesome to have a pool part of a CrossFit competition, and for it to be that I was managing. And then this last year, so one of the athletes is a very dear friend of mine, my whole life, really. His name's Artie Mays. He has cerebral palsy. And I met him when I was 11 years old as a volunteer on this property. I've been a part of this property for 25 years. I was the volunteer that was assigned to help Artie get around. And we developed this really strong relationship where sometimes he was the mentor. He was really always the mentor, and I was just helping him go around his life. He was older in high school, and we continued this really wonderful relationship that has lasted 25 years. And now he is an adaptive athlete, and he was competing in that. And there have been years where we have talked about his health and his ability to exercise, and I have tried to help him to exercise. There's an epidemic in the disabilities community that once you turn 21, all your services go away. So when you're 21, until you're 21, there's all these services. There's PT, there's OT, you can get signed up for this, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. And then once you turn 21, those services just kind of disappear. And so people with complex disabilities, they just deteriorate, because I get whatever. The way that the system is set up is not to support that. And so Artie began to deteriorate, and watching him work hard, not in a way that was like, oh, this is just this special thing for Artie to do over here, his own unique thing. And like, maybe he's working hard, but who knows? What I saw was him grinding, trying to work out that all we needed to do was adjust a few things to put him in a position where he could work as hard as the non-adaptive athlete that was right next to him. Was a really powerful thing for me to see, because I can't speak for Artie, but I know for me, 5 years ago, I thought that was not something that was possible for Artie to do. Not because of his willingness, but because of the environment, the world that we're in. So to see that happen, and to see him meet that opportunity with some real intensity and focus and wanting to grow, was incredibly powerful. And for him to do it in the same building that used to be where we ate our lunch, and I've now converted it into a gym, was just incredibly powerful.
That's awesome, man. Like that, just like you said, the grind, that's universal, right? So when you can appreciate that in others, no matter like their ability, it's an amazing thing, a moment to be a part of. So what's next, bro? Like, what are you hungry for?
Yeah, so we acquired this 8-acre property. It was like a 2-year process for us to get it. We lease it from the county. So the county owns it, but we are responsible for it. We have to financially take care of it. And there is a ton of potential here for growth and expansion. I'm bringing on other people whose passion are all those different areas, like working with people in recovery. And I'm a veteran myself. I want to serve veterans, but I want to keep my focus on the students because that's where I've had success. So I want to find somebody that can help to support me helping in a veteran's mission. I want to expand the space that we have. Right now, our biggest limiter to being able to run programs is that we only have one space. So I want to double, triple, quadruple the gym space that we have so we can be running concurrent programs. So we don't have to share the nights. We can all be using it at the same time. I see a need for high school students that need to get out of their living situation so that they can find more success. So I want to be able to build a residential, either part-time or full-time residential program here, whether that's a boarding school or an alternative school. I'm still working out the details of that. But I see the need. I see their hunger to want to be here all of the time. I've been able to get some really positive role models around me that, I mean, this is where kids should be. They're surrounded by other people who are hungry, who are focusing, who are driving, and none of them are there because it's their job. They're not there because they have to teach some other curriculum. They're not like most teachers are, struggling to even do what is being asked of them, let alone to develop these strong relationships. Like it's a rough time to be a teacher. It is very difficult to find success there. And the group of people that are suffering the most are the students. When I was in high school, my teachers had all this time for me. I mean, second only to my dad, my football coach, who was also one of my teachers, is the most influential person in my life. And we
for sure
a lot of downtime.
Yeah, agreed.
Just developing relationships. And that is just not available to teachers anymore. It's not possible.
Yeah. They're all being driven into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. They're being driven in the ground. So I want to fill that gap for developing those relationships, and not me as an individual. I want this organization to
do it. Yeah. I love that, man. And I think on the boarding school thing, just like you were saying earlier, I don't know the exact ins and outs of like tax law and formulating this versus that, but like trade school kind of thing where they're getting scholarships coming in and learning different like skills, job and life skills while they're there. I don't know. Those are the kind of things that they grant money for, so all that.
7 years ago, I told a couple of people what my plan was to take this thing in the weight room and develop it into a social emotional wellness curriculum before the regular public was talking about social emotional wellness.
Right.
People were like, nah, I don't know. There's this, there's that, there's this. And now it's happening. So like, I'm just going to keep grinding, keep showing up.
For sure. You'll be saying this stuff right now, and then 7 years from now, people will be like, oh, I guess he was saying that back then and I just didn't. Yeah, that's how it goes, Like I was talking to my friend the other day about it. Like there's a difference between just like working and then like creating magic, like having vision. Like that is the huge difference between people, because like, hey, I want to do this. I say this out loud. It's nothing right now, but in time I can make it into something, you know. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's I do this work because I love it. It keeps me sane. It keeps me connected. It keeps me sober. It keeps me on top of my mental health. I do it because honestly, I feel like I don't even have a choice. I have to do it. And I'm blessed that as a result of my injury, I retired from the Army. So this is a volunteer job for me.
Right.
Because I believe in it, because I love it.
Through like just accident and injury, you found vision and commitment, you know, and what else can you really hope for in life besides those two things? That's awesome. Well, Jeremy, it's been a great episode, man. Thanks for coming on and chatting with me, bro. Do you have anything else to say to the people at the end of the episode?
No, man, just thanks for having me. It's as big as my ego can feel sometimes to me. I'm always still shocked when people give a shit about what I have to say. So it's cool. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Dogs out there, thanks for listening. Here's been another episode of the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Peace.